Have you ever wondered about the magnificent pharaohs of ancient Egypt? These were not just kings or queens as we might think of them today. No, they were seen as much more than that. The pharaohs were considered living gods, powerful rulers chosen by the heavens to lead their people. They held immense power and were responsible for the prosperity and safety of their entire kingdom. During their time on earth, they lived in grand palaces, commanded vast armies, and ordered the construction of enormous temples and pyramids that still leave us in awe. Their subjects looked up to them with a mixture of reverence and fear, believing their ruler was a direct link between the world of humans and the world of the gods. Because the pharaohs were believed to be divine, their journey after death was considered incredibly important. The ancient Egyptians had a profound belief in an afterlife, a new existence that began once their time on earth had ended. They imagined this afterlife as a kind of paradise, a perfect version of the life they knew along the fertile banks of the river Nile. But to reach this wonderful place, the pharaoh's spirit, known as the Ka and Ba, needed its physical body to remain intact. If the body decayed and disappeared, they believed the spirit would have no home to return to, and its eternal journey would come to a devastating end. This strong belief is precisely why mummification was so essential. It was not simply a burial custom. It was a sacred and scientific process designed to preserve the pharaoh's body for eternity. Think of it as preparing a vessel for an eternal soul. The Egyptians became masters of this craft over thousands of years, perfecting their techniques to ensure the body would withstand the ravages of time. By preserving the pharaoh's physical form, they were guaranteeing their ruler's successful passage into the afterlife, where they would join the gods and continue to watch over Egypt from the heavens. It was an act of ultimate respect and a crucial part of their religious duties. So, the next time you see a picture of a pyramid or a golden mask, remember the person it was built for. These weren't just powerful monarchs. They were god kings preparing for the most important journey of all. Mummification was their ticket to immortality, a carefully planned procedure that connected their earthly life with their divine destiny. The entire process was wrapped in ritual and magic, a testament to how deeply the ancient Egyptians cared about what happens after we die. It was a bridge between two worlds, built with linen, salt, and unwavering faith in eternal life. The process of making a mummy was a long and complicated affair, taking about 70 days from start to finish. It was performed by special priests who knew the secrets of human anatomy and the necessary religious rituals. The first step was to remove the internal organs, as these parts of the body decompose very quickly. The priests would make a small cut on the left side of the abdomen to take out the stomach, intestines, liver, and lungs. Each organ was carefully washed, dried, and preserved separately. They used a long, hooked instrument to pull the brain out through the nose piece by piece, as they didn't consider it an important organ for the afterlife. Once the body was empty, the real preservation work could begin. The priests would wash the inside of the body cavity with palm wine, which helped to cleanse it and kill any remaining bacteria. Then, they would pack the body, both inside and out, with a special type of salt called natron. Natron is a natural substance found in Egypt that is excellent at drying things out. The body would be left covered in this salt for about 40 days. During this time, the natron would absorb all the moisture from the skin, muscles, and tissues, leaving the body completely dehydrated and preventing it from rotting away. After the 40 days of drying were complete, the natron was removed, and the body was carefully cleaned one last time. It would now be much lighter and have a leathery appearance. The priests would then stuff the empty body cavity with linen cloths, sawdust, or other materials to help it regain a more lifelike shape. They would also anoint the body with sweet-smelling oils and resins to make the skin soft and fragrant. This part of the process was very important for making the pharaoh appear dignified and ready to meet the gods. Small stones or onions were sometimes placed over the eyes to make them look more natural. The final and most recognizable step was the wrapping. The priests would wind hundreds of meters of fine linen bandages all around the body. They started with the fingers and toes, wrapping each one individually before moving on to the limbs and torso. It was a meticulous process. As they wrapped, the priests would place magical amulets and written spells between the layers of linen to protect the pharaoh on their dangerous journey through the underworld. A final shroud was placed over the wrapped body before it was carefully placed inside a series of decorated coffins, like a set of nesting dolls, ready for the funeral. The tombs of the pharaohs were not just simple burial places, they were eternal homes, fully furnished for the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed that whatever a person needed in life, they would also need in death. For a pharaoh, this meant their tomb had to be filled with an incredible array of treasures and everyday items. This included everything from ornate furniture like gilded beds and chairs, to chests filled with the finest clothing and jewelry. They packed food and drink, such as jars of wine, honey, and preserved meats, to ensure the pharaoh would never go hungry or thirsty in the next world. It was like packing for the longest, most important holiday you could ever imagine. Among the most fascinating items found in these tombs are the objects related to the pharaoh's daily life and hobbies. For example, in the tomb of Tutankhamun, archaeologists discovered beautifully crafted board games like Senet, which the young king could play for eternity. They also found his royal chariots, his hunting bows, and even a collection of walking sticks. These personal belongings show us that the pharaohs were seen as individuals with their own personalities and pastimes. Including these items was a way of ensuring that the pharaoh's spirit could continue to enjoy the activities it loved while on Earth, making the afterlife a comfortable and familiar place. Of course, the tombs were also packed with items of immense wealth and religious significance. Golden daggers, jewel-encrusted pectorals, and statues of gods and goddesses were placed strategically around the burial chamber to provide protection and power. These objects were not just for show, they had a purpose. The gold was believed to have magical properties, representing the flesh of the gods and the eternal light of the sun. Hieroglyphic spells were inscribed on walls and objects, acting as a guidebook to help the pharaoh navigate the challenges of the underworld and successfully pass the final judgment before the gods. Perhaps the most poignant items left in the tombs were the shabdi figures. These were small statuettes, usually shaped like a mummified person, that were placed in the tomb by the hundreds. The ancient Egyptians believed that in the afterlife, everyone, even a pharaoh, might be called upon to do manual labor, like farming in the fields of paradise. The shabdi figures were enchanted to come to life and do this work on behalf of the deceased. So, if a god asked the pharaoh to plow a field, a shabdi would magically answer, "Here I am," and do the job for him, leaving the pharaoh free to enjoy a leisurely eternity. The elaborate process of mummification and the stocking of tombs were all rooted in a single powerful idea, the belief in eternal life. For the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end but a transition to another, better world. They believed that every person possessed a life force, the Ka, and a unique spirit, the Ba, which looked like a bird with a human head. After death, the Ba could fly out of the tomb during the day to revisit the world of the living, but it had to return to the body, the Ka's permanent home, each night. This is why preserving the body through mummification was absolutely non-negotiable for a successful afterlife. This journey to the afterlife was imagined as a perilous one. The deceased pharaoh had to travel through the underworld, a realm filled with monstrous demons and tricky gods. To succeed, they needed the spells from the Book of the Dead, which was often included as a scroll in their coffin. The final test was the weighing of the heart ceremony. The pharaoh's heart was placed on a set of scales, balanced against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, it meant the pharaoh had lived a good life, and they would be granted entry into the paradise of the afterlife. If it was heavier, it would be devoured by a terrifying monster. So why do we, thousands of years later, still find these mummies so utterly captivating? Part of the fascination comes from the fact that they are real human beings from a distant, mysterious past. When we look at a mummy, we are looking at someone who lived, breathed, and ruled a powerful civilization long ago. It's a direct physical connection to history that you just don't get from reading a book. The incredible preservation allows us to see what they looked like, and scientific analysis can even tell us about their health, their diet, and how they died. It feels like solving an ancient puzzle. Furthermore, the story of the mummies taps into our own deep questions about life and death. The ancient Egyptians went to such extraordinary lengths to defeat death and achieve immortality, a desire that many people can understand. Their elaborate rituals, their golden treasures, and their belief in a magical afterlife fuel our imagination and curiosity. From Hollywood films to museum exhibitions, mummies represent a perfect blend of history, mystery, and the supernatural. They are silent storytellers from a lost world, and their secrets continue to unravel, ensuring they will fascinate us for many years to come.